Good morning, my name's Chris Brown with Morgans in Brisbane, and I'm here this morning with Frazer Tabeart, the Managing Director of PolarX, which is an ASX listed junior resource company exploring in Alaska. Frazer, Alaska's a long way from Australia. Why Alaska?
A couple of reasons. One, the geology is extremely good. It's a world-class province for both gold and copper and a number of other elements. But as much as that, it's a tier 1 jurisdiction from a risk perspective in terms of, if one makes a discovery there is a well thought through jurisdiction that allows you to take that through permitting. So we've specifically developed a project where we have 100% state mining claims, and that makes the whole permitting process significantly easier than it might otherwise be. With a very good sense of, if you do the right thing, you will be able to develop a project there.
So there are obviously quite strong environmental and native title regulations and those kinds of issues. Have you been managing those for the last couple of years? Has anything arisen?
Yeah, we have. Mainly because we're on exclusively state mining claims. That really means that everything that we do goes through the Department of Natural Resources in Alaska. And they're very pro mining development, and they've helped us and will help us in the future with any permitting. Because we're on state mining claims, for example, we can get a multi-year, multidisciplinary exploration permit, which allows us to explore and drill for 4 to 5 years. It makes things very easy. In terms of native title, the Alaskan scene is very well managed. There are 12 native corporations that each own parts of the country, and if we were on their land, we would need to deal with them and pay for access, etc. In our case, we don't have native corporation land within 20 miles of the project, but we have entered some dialogue with the local Indigenous group, told them what we're doing, and explain where we are in the process, and that if we get the project to a point where it looks like it's going to get developed, we'll engage with them to see what services they can provide. And these guys often provide sort of logistics and even some quite advanced civil engineering type consulting to us. So you want to develop that relationship without, I guess, getting expectations too high too early.
Right. And why this particular area? I mean, is it in the middle of nowhere? Alaska's a bit cold and a bit remote. So why did this particular area excite you?
This particular area, it's in the known porphyry belt. So we have deliberately set out to look for projects that have scale. And in this particular case, the project had some previous regional soil sampling that had identified a very large copper anomaly. It's something you don't often see. My background, number of years with Western Mining Corporation, looking for porphyry copper type systems throughout the whole world, and seeing a geochemistry anomaly of that scale is unusual. And then when we've sort of stepped back and see where that sits, it sits in a very interesting area within a known world-class porphyry arc, and that's about as good a starting point as you're likely to see.
Well, Frazer, those big porphyry systems, they're $6 or $8 or $10 billion developments. You're a small company at this stage.
Yeah.
Is that something which you think is within your capability to explore, or are you just looking for monsters, or is there any potential for minnows in your area?
Yeah, we have sort of two principal goals here. Within the project, one of the reasons we like the project, not only do we have that large copper anomaly, but we had on the edge of that anomaly a small but very high grade deposit called Zackly. And Zackly is the type of deposit which often forms close to a porphyry. So we've done drilling there in the last 2 seasons. We've got that up to about 3.5 million tonnes at good grades of copper and gold. Our first goal is to sort of triple the size of that resource to about 10 million tonnes, and then we know we've got something that is a scale that we could develop ourselves. It might be $100 to $200 million of capital to build something of that scale. That's something that the minnows of the world can take on. Now that's exciting in its own right. What really, I guess, excites us is the upside of the porphyries, and those are, as you said, significantly larger projects, and even the drilling stage can cost tens of millions of dollars. We would certainly like to be able to do the first round of drilling on those ourselves. Everything going our way. that will be the goal. That's where the real value is created. But first goal, get Zackly to a critical mass that underwrites shareholders' value in the company, and then ideally at the same time explore the much higher risk but real massive upside of the porphyries.
So what did you do last year, and what information has that led to, which has changed or improved or detracted from what you were looking for before?
Yeah, two main things that we did last year, or two things that have really added value. The first is we did a lot more drilling at Zackly itself. So we drilled both underneath the existing resource and along strike, particularly to the east. And what that drilling has shown us is that the deposit is still open at depth, so we know it's going to expand in size as we go deeper. But most importantly, as we move further to the east, we started to see higher grades, thicker intersections, and particularly the furthest east that we've drilled. 2 holes there intersected much shallower, high-grade mineralisation with up to 3 grams per tonne gold and up to 50 metres thickness almost at surface. So that's given us an opportunity for an open pit position in the eastern areas, and that'll be a really strong focus for additional work in the current field season. And then the other key piece of data that we collected was we flew a high-resolution magnetic survey over the whole project. And we just recently released the results of some of the modelling that we've done on that, and that's really highlighted our Saturn anomaly as having some really key characteristics that one would expect to see in a porphyry. So we have a nice magnetic core surrounded by a zone where the magnetite in the rocks has been destroyed, suggesting that fluids have come out of the porphyry and reacted with those rocks, and then potentially migrated along structures and actually formed the mineralisation at Zackly. So it looks like we've got a linked system. And that modelling shown that Saturn's got huge size potentially. It's 2 by 1 kilometre surface and extends to at least 3 kilometres depth, with all the right sort of shape and characteristics that one would expect to see in a porphyry deposit.
So, given that the work last year has potentially improved the scale of Zackly, I assume in the coming field season, which begins sort of April, May, that you'll be looking to, I think you said, drill Zackly again to improve the size to that, potentially to that 10 million tonnes.
That's exactly right.
And do you have the drill locations yet for drilling at the Saturn porphyry copper gold target?
So let me address that last one first. So Saturn, the final piece of information that we need there is to undertake an induced polarisation survey. That's a grain geophysics technique which is aimed at identifying the types of disseminated sulphides that you would see around the porphyry system. So we have a 20-line kilometre survey there, which is planned. We have the contractor lined up and all the support lined up to do that. Hopefully we'll get that done in early May, as soon as the snows lift, and that will then have Saturn basically ready for drilling sometime in June. With regards to Zackly, we can start that drilling effectively as soon as we're able to mobilise drill rigs in, which could be as early May, maybe mid-May. It just depends on when the snow lifts. But in terms of where to drill, we already know we want to do most of that drilling around that eastern area where we had those thick, high-grade, near-surface intersections. And the recent high-resolution magnetic data is certainly helping us plan those drill holes. So both of those programs will kick off hopefully in May this year.
So this field season is really going to be a very important one for you in determining at least the expectation of target size for Zackly and testing the Saturn gold copper porphyry. I understand that's under till, so that there's no real evidence on the surface of it. Do you have other porphyry copper gold targets?
Yeah, we do. And in fact, what's interesting is that this whole sort of system lines up in a west-northwest trending corridor, which is about 12 kilometres long. At one end we have Saturn, which, as you said, is under about 10 to 20 metres of glacial cover. In the middle we have the known high-grade resource at Zackly, and then about 6 kilometres to the west-northwest we have another prospect called Mars. Now, at Mars, we're a little bit more advanced there. It's still not been drilled, but we do have surface geochemistry with copper, gold, molybdenum and arsenic, which are the sort of in combination of the classic porphyry pathfinders. We also have an IP anomaly there from an IP survey that we undertook in late 2017, and the high resolution magnetics collected last year have confirmed that there are magnetic bodies there which look like intrusions. So that one is now basically drill ready as well. So this year our goal would be to increase Zackly in size, as you said, and also do the first round of drilling at Saturn, but also at Mars. And if things went well, then we're certainly outlining then, you know, a 12-kilometre long mineralised corridor, which is something of, you know, of real scale, with multiple mineralised position opportunities within that.
Well, thanks, Frazer. It certainly looks like you're going to have a very interesting, 6 to 9 month period from here, with a lot of news coming out from drilling of both the Zackly man-sized project and potentially a couple of large porphyry copper gold targets. So a strong news flow. Wish you well. For those of you, the ASX code is PXX. Have a look at PolarX, and I'm sure there's a good presentation on the websites, and of course I think I know Morgan's has got some research on the story. Thanks again for coming in, and I wish you well.
Thanks very much, Chris.